back on the local level, let's show this one map. And again, if you want to follow along, you're fine to do that. And then I want to have you make a map. I want to have you make a multimedia map, maybe a couple multimedia maps if you're willing to do it. First, I'm going to go. So I'm in my presentation. This is the same presentation that I've been using. I'm about maybe 40% of the way down in here, maybe 35% of the way down, something like that. But I'm on Make Your Own Map. Now let's look at demographic information from a national perspective to states, to counties, to census tracts, to block groups, which are basically neighborhoods, okay? And show you how to do that. So if I click in here on this link, I'm going to be in this mapping platform that we've been using. There are other mapping platforms, and we're going to tap into a little bit of those. Let's zoom out a little bit. So if you're there, let's zoom out a little bit. How's the bandwidth for you? Is it working okay? It's slow? And you're on the DU Wi-Fi, or are you on EduRoam or something else? Got it, okay. So at this scale, here is median age. If I want to find out about a little bit more detail about the median age, it looks like it was about 4 years old. Okay, so it's not current median age, but for the purposes of our class, it'll do. There is a legend button to the left of the map. So red is younger, blue is older. Why isn't it the same median age for every state? Okay. So there's state-to-state migration, there's international migration, right? That affects the median age. What are other factors? What are the factors that go into state-to-state migration? What's a couple of those? Climate, perception, employment. Family. There you go. All kinds of social and economic factors, physical geography as well. Sure. Interesting. So if I hover down over here into Texas, remember there's a database behind here, right? So I can actually pull up I should be able to pull up, bandwidth permitting, a histogram, so I can see that the 0 to 10s in Texas are the largest component, then the 10s to 20s. And here's the 0 to 10s, 10 to 20s, 20 to 30s, etc. So it's slightly younger as of 2013 than the U.S. population. Same with Utah, Idaho, and Alaska. And Maine was a little older. Maine was a little older. Interesting, isn't it? At this scale, you would think that Florida might be a little older, right? But at this scale, it's not, right? Because there's enough of the younger at the state level anyway. So if we zoomed in a little bit, now we can hit the plus and minus, or you can just use a touchpad or a mouse. At the county level now, is this the kind of pattern that you would have thought? So we've got some older counties kind of in the mid-north central. What's going on there? Okay. So if I went to one of these counties in the Nebraska Sandhills, 43 for this, now I'm at the census tract level, so I'm down sub-county level, 49, middle of Nebraska. Okay, what does it look like there? Let's change the base map to, how about a satellite image? Let's change it to, instead of topographic, let's go here. Let's make this maybe semi-transparent, like we did earlier. Okay, so we've got some national wildlife refuges. Where do people work in the middle of Nebraska and the Sandhills? Okay, so farms, ranches, services in town, right? They could run an insurance company, restaurant, right, etc., feed store. But so as you folks are identifying, when these folks graduate from high school, where do they go?
Somewhere else.
Somewhere else, yes. So they move, if they go to university, right, University of Nebraska, University of Kansas, rock, chalk. Anyway, and they don't move back by and large. Some do, but most of them don't. And so the remaining population, right, is is their parents, etc. And so you've got a higher median age. Now let's say we wanted to add some data to this. So we, again, up in the upper right, we're going to modify map, and let's go ahead and add. And how about median income? Wouldn't that be interesting to look at like median income versus median age? Okay, so I'm going to scroll down. I've got a lot of choices here. I've got a median age, I've got a median household income, etc. But there's one right at the top that looks actually pretty good. So I'm going to look at that one. And the median household income, 2016. So we're not actually looking at the same year. So that's another thing that we might want to slightly be of concern. But for the purposes of the class and getting you to think about the power that these maps have, I think we'll just be fine. Okay, so now we've got 2 layers in here. Yes, we've got a median household income and a median age. Interesting. So there's our median household income. Let's just take a look at the median age is this, and let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit. And oh goodness. And 51, yeah, we're starting to see some really interesting, let's turn off the median age here and see if we can't change the base map right there. So I'm going to add a different layer here. I'm kind of not liking that median household income so much because I can't see the table behind it. So I'm going to look at maybe another USA median. How about USA income? How about that? Now we've got some different. I've got an average, which is not the same as a median, right? But let's go ahead and add that and see what we get there. Okay, now we're back on our map. We're going to turn off this one. We're going to pop up and look at some of these things in here. Do we have any sort of pop-up in there? No, we don't. But you see where I'm going, right, folks, is that I've got the capability with these mapping tools to compare 2 different variables. More about that in a bit. But I don't want to delay you making your own maps. So, that said, you want to have a short break before you make your own maps, or what are you folks thinking?
We ought to just
plow through. I like this front row. Okay, well, why would I want to make my own maps? Well, because you want to customize it like we did here. If I went back to this and I wanted to teach my class on Monday, I'd have to make that all over again. Now, it only took me a few minutes, right? But I'd have to go in and I'd have to add the median age and the median income, right? But if I wanted to actually save it, then I could open it in my course exactly how I left it. Exactly how I left it. Nice. So let's do that. In order for us to make a map in this platform, and by the way, just as a short note, there are other tools before we get into this platform. And some of my favorites are right here. So I love Gapminder. How many of you used Gapminder before in your courses? So Gapminder is a product of Hans Rosling out of Sweden. Yeah, Hans. And you've got this sort of capability where you've got a whole series of graphs, charts, and maps for a ton of variables. This one being income versus life expectancy. And you can see, again, be critical of the data. Not every country had a census in 1850, but you can see the different bubbles. Notice how it dipped there at 1917. Really fascinating to be able to use this in the class. Let's stop this thing right now, and I want to say, you know, I want to track.
Where did you go?
Gapminder.org. Gapminder.org, but it's actually linked to my presentation. So I want to look at USA, and I want to compare it to, I don't know, China. Okay. Good. Now, if I play, notice I'm going to get just those at the point that I left off, which was about, what, 1950 or so, or 1960. So you can see that size is related to the population and also is key to this world region. And then you can also see the change over time.
So that's saying more Chinese
It's
versus
the distance that sure, the life expectancy has increased for both, but the income for the average Chinese person, right, has increased a vastly more amount. We were already up here, right, in 1969. Fascinating, though, Gapminder, and you can do these things yourself because it's all on the web. You've got maps. Right, we all love maps, so you can go to the maps and actually play these animations as well over time, right? So you can go back in time, same kind of thing. I still have the two countries selected. You can do trends. The trends are nice because then you don't see every single country, but you just see the two countries that you have selected. For, again, it doesn't have to be this variable, folks. You can change the variables that you're looking at. It doesn't have to be median age and median income, okay? So just a matter of going down to here on the left side, the XY axes, and you can just change those to different variables. Wonderful tool, but I wanted to make sure that you knew about Gapminder. The other one in our list of Bouncy Maps, these are cartograms. I love cartograms because they distort an area based on a variable. So here's our typical way of looking at the world. Again, map projections matter. This is like a Robinson projection. If I wanted to look at a Bouncy Map, population, notice the regular map and then the Bouncy Map, which is basically their fancy word for a cartogram. So there are various ways. A lot of people hate cartograms. The best way to use cartograms is if you're using things that you have a mental map of that you don't forget when you put it in a cartogram. So a cartogram distorts the size typically of an area, a country usually. Sometimes a state is okay because you have this image of what a state should look like based on a variable. In this case, population. So India and China, pretty large. Pakistan, Brazil, USA, Mexico, etc. Right, Nigeria. So now on this map, right, Ireland is pretty small. Latvia, etc. What's a big country that doesn't have very many people in it? Yeah, there's a data error there. Good on you, mates. Yeah, so there must have been not a variable. That variable must not have existed in this data set because otherwise it would be much bigger, wouldn't it? Yeah. Look, it's got 144 million. It should be a little bit bigger than that on this scale. But not that much bigger compared to India and China. Okay, so let's look at 2100. Russia goes down. We go up a little bit. China and India, pretty large still, and some of these countries as well. So, but looking at agriculture, like where's coffee grown? What's your mental map going to be? Ooh. Okay, Kenya, right? When I came back from Kenya, I was teaching over there, right here, half my suitcase was coffee and tea. It's like, I don't care about my socks, just tuck those over in the side of the suitcase. It was mostly coffee and tea because it was so wonderful. So, again, figure out what variable you want to map, and again, be critical of the data. Where did they get it from? Do they actually have a set of metadata saying where the data came from? And you've got these nice graphs here, and then the data. And a lot of times on a lot of these sites, you can actually download it into Excel, and then you can do additional things in it, like here. So that's Bouncy Maps. Another one that, if you love cartograms, there is World Mapper. Worldmapper.org has about 1,100 variables that you can make cartograms of. Yep, okay, one more. And that is, you knew you wouldn't be in a geotechnology course with me if we didn't look at Google Maps and Google Earth, right? So, yeah, Google is an advertising company. Why do they do maps? Well, they're not a GIS company, but they do it because it helps drive their overall business, right? Getting people knowledgeable about places and, of course, spending money and visiting places around the world. So, how do we use that in a course like this? A course that you're teaching? Well, one of the ways I think is really compelling is, let's say you're teaching about world biomes or something. This is actually running Google Earth inside the Chrome web browser. So it's really running Google Earth. So if you didn't want to download Google Earth, you could actually run it in the Chrome web browser as I'm doing here. So you've got a 3D effect. Let's say you're teaching about, world ecoregions. And where's the taiga biome, and where's the tundra, and where's the rainforests, and where's the grasslands, and et cetera, okay? And you've got this sort of capability, right? You've got this, right? Who's used the Google Street Views? several folks. In instruction, it could be really valuable. So if you said, hey, we're going to use Google Street View and hypothesize, what is it going to look like in the northern part of Sweden? If you had in another frame that you just showed the students a map of world biomes or ecoregions, right? That should be the taiga biome, right? It should be coniferous forest, the boreal forest. You shouldn't see grasslands, right? So if that hypothesis is true, we should be able to drop that person on the northern part of Sweden, and there's our boreal forest. Nice. And what if we did that for any other part of the world, right? We should be able to, well, it's only, and this comes into our location privacy. Notice that the street views do not exist over the whole planet. There's another tool that is a crowdsourced tool, a citizen science tool that does more about that in a minute. But we should be able to drop this on the steppe, right? Like in the middle of the Ukraine, like right about there. And we should see some, yeah, there we go. So we've got some middle latitude. We've got some farming going on too. Don't we have like a cornfield right there? And a nice thing about doing this tool rather than like general search is that they're all landscapes, right? So if you do as you know from being instructors, if you start going down the path of let's do a general image search on Google, I would do that before you have a whole room full of students in there, because you're going to get a whole wide variety of really horrible stuff and some good stuff in there too. So danger. Do this before you get to class. General landscape image search, because you're going to get some things that are nasty in there. But this, you're only getting landscapes. There is a component, a big component of modern mapping called crowdsourcing, or citizen science, where ordinary folks are going out there and collecting data on pine beetle infestation in Colorado, or cracks on the sidewalks in my neighborhood, or here's the local weather in my weather station in my backyard, right? So there's ordinary people contributing to this whole sensor network, we call it. And think of citizens as sensors. There's 7.5 billion of us. That's a lot of sensing that can be done. So let's say you want to have a street view of a place, and it's not on Google Street View. By the way, before we leave Google Street View, if we go to Denver, yes, and let's just kind of go down to the DU campus here, and let's kind of go over here to, how about the south end of campus, and let's go to, how about, right about there. So, this is where, so south end of the DU campus, right? Have you noticed this? You've got a historical street view in many places around the world now. So you can go back to 2008, before that building was constructed. And I guess part of it was there. It looks a lot different now, though. Let's go up to 2017. Let's see here. How about 2007? And that's what it looked like. They're doing some surveying right there. But you can see maybe some changes on the DU campus. Is that building still there, right? This one that's just east of the music building. So let's go back to 2007. So there it was, and now let's go up to 2017. And it's gone. Okay, and now we've got that. Oh, that's what I was looking for. I was too far east. Sorry about that. Ah, look, there it is. Parking lot. Now it is a building. So what about changes in rivers again? This is only from a couple of trails, but mostly streets. So it could be a really valuable tool looking at change over time. But again, it's only where Google has the street view. Well, what about citizen science? There is a tool called Mapillary, M-A-P-I-L-L-A-R-Y. They're actually a business partner of ours, and what it lets you do is ordinary folks collecting their own street views, or trails, or on a boat in the middle of a river. You're collecting what it looks like ahead, this way, even behind. So you can collect your own. Why do we care about that globally? Well, there are certain countries that have no means of collecting infrastructure information on light poles, curbs, etc. And so ordinary folks are going out and collecting that, you know, in Mozambique, etc. Also, there are places where Google vans and trucks and cars are blocked because people don't want them in their subdivisions in the middle of Germany, for example. Right? All kinds of interesting social issues behind that. But Mapillary, okay, I can go out with my ordinary phone, with my Mapillary app, and basically either with a headset or have it on a chest harness or just going like this, watching where you're stepping, I can go collect my own street view. And so I wanted to let you know that this was here as well. So if we look at the, I want to look at the map here. Resources, let's see, I want to get to Explore Imagery and Data. This should give us the map, right? Yeah, so here's our world map of where people have collected this. It's quite a bit. It's not just a couple of places. So if we do a search on, I don't know, Denver, all of these green lines are where people have actually collected this stuff in Metro Denver. So it's really interesting. There's some open space trails and so on and so forth. Yeah, really interesting. Here, let me click on this one, so it give you a sense of what this looks like. So here is, you can travel down these trails in this case, and I have it on full view. So it's a little bit, here we go. So if I push play here, you can see that at that spot, you see where the cameras point, in this case, this is actually mine. I was on this trail and collected this. So, wow, so you've got a lot of images associated with maps that you can look at. As you probably know, also, you can do things like not just a street address, but this ties into our mapping focus here, that this is all tied to a latitude longitude, right? So if I'm in the maps, Google Maps, right? If I've got a set of data that's tied to a latitude longitude, I can type in a latitude longitude in here, right? And I can even import a table that I've got. So if I do 40 minus 105, that's 40 north, 105 west. Yeah, which is Baseline Road. Good. Up in right around, you know, just Boulder County, up in there, just west of I-25. So you can put in a latitude longitude. You can also have a spreadsheet of latitude longitude points that you can map. Yeah, as long as you've got some sort of real world coordinates, you can map it. Or you can use street address, or you can use city-country combination.